Welcome to the Rusted Garden. A lot of people have been asking me, what am I growing in the way of tomatoes? And I'm growing a ton of tomato plants. And I thought I would just do a walkthrough and just show you my tomato garden and tell you what the different varieties are. I want to start with tomatoes that aren't quite yet into containers. These are All-America Selection winners. This is Fantastico, and this is an All-America Selection winner for 2017. Patio Choice. These are going to go actually into these 2.5 gallon containers, and I'm really working on different size containers with my tomatoes, see if I can match new hybrids with smaller containers just to see what I can do. Over here is my Bradley that's in a 10 to 12 gallon container down there, and you can see how tall that is. That was seed started indoors on 3/8 and has been out here for a good 6 weeks. And I like to put my tomatoes in at different times. This way, if I get diseases coming in or things going on, I always have tomatoes at different stages and something's going to survive. This is an Ace 55. This one's not quite as old as the Bradley, but I'm testing that out for heat tolerance in my area. And I have a lot of transplants that are probably 6 weeks old right there. These were all started just like I showed you the initial tomatoes for All-America Selections in starting cells, but they were outside. These weren't done indoors. As soon as it got warm enough, I brought them out here, and when the nights would get cooler, I would bring them in. So you can seed start without using grow lights. That is a Silvery Fur, much smaller, and it has tomatoes. I'm going to show you another one, and sometimes it's kind of cool to plant them in different places, because when I show you the other Silvery Fur, it's about the same age, but it's huge. Up here are red currants, right here. And back there is another Silvery Fur that's younger, that's just starting growing. So here's another experiment I'm doing, which should make it to a video. This is a red currant tomato growing in a 5 gallon container. Even though it's a square box, it's 5 gallons. And it's just your standard potting mix that you buy at, your big box stores that you see all the time. And this one is same variety, growing in a product called Good Dirt, which I really love. It's one of the best, if not the best, potting mixes you can buy. But I'm going to grow them side by side, treat them the same way, and see if we can find a noticeable difference between how they grow. Now over here, if you guys don't have them in your garden, I really recommend bringing in flowers. I just potted these up, added some flowers, freshened up the soil, but this is a great way to bring pollinators into your garden, and it's really attractive to look at. But all kinds of different flowers will bring in beneficial insects, and they will also bring in your pollinators. So you'll see I have most of my tomatoes growing in 5 gallon containers, and that's the minimum that I recommend. These are Bonnie plants, the Heat Master and the Solar Fire. And here in Maryland Zone 7, one of the things we struggle with is really high heat come July. So I'm testing out a couple new hybrids to see how they do. Over on this side are my tomatoes that are starring in my 1 to 2 pounder series. This is a Mortgage Lifter. Oh, I can't even remember. This has maybe been in 6 weeks. And these plants actually struggled because I used a bag composted manure that wasn't fully composted, and it actually was competing for nitrogen, but they're perfectly fine now. This is a giant pink Belgium right there. These are all supposed to get over 1 pound tomatoes. This is I believe this is my Aussie. Yep, that's an Aussie heirloom. Really, really nice size. They're growing extremely well. No damage left from that manure that wasn't composted, and you can check out the video. I'll throw in a link. And let me just see real quick. This one is the Delicious, and this one holds the world record for the biggest tomato grown weight-wise. I'm going to see what I can do with that. Over on this side, you can see part of my addiction. Even though I have no more space, I keep buying them, and these are more Bonnie tomatoes. This is a patio. Again, I'm testing out smaller containers to see what I can grow, and that's a patio variety, which means it's only supposed to be a couple feet tall and perfect for smaller containers. And this is another heat-tolerant variety, Solar Fire, which I need to go and see how that does. Back here, I have my heat-tolerant Floridade, another Ace 55. They're both doing really well. Probably been in there about 4 weeks. They were transplants. And this is a Midnight Snack. Again, another All-America Selections winner for 2017. And this is a cherry tomato that is got the anthocyanin in it, which is the pigment that colors blueberries dark. So when the sun hits these tomatoes, you're going to get this really, really nice dark purple color to it. And this is also starring in a series for growing cherry tomatoes from start to finish. And this was actually ground planted as seeds, so I put the seeds in here and just showing people how to do that, because you don't have to always seed start indoors. You don't have to buy transplants. You can go ahead and just grow them from seed in your ground when the temperatures get right. All right, let's go over to my cherry tomato garden. 3 more tomatoes in 5-gallon containers, and I sort of extended this space off my raised beds by just laying down boards, and I put my container tomatoes on there. This is a Siberian Determinate variety. I have a couple of these all over the place. They're just a great early Determinate variety tomato with good size, larger size cherry tomatoes. This is the Silvery Fur. Look how big this one is. Planted at about the same time into the container. A couple tomatoes are starting to show, but it's just starting to show all of its flowers. And this is one of my favorite semi-determinate varieties. This is a Glacier, and it's cold tolerant, doing really, really well. You can see here Maryland Zone 7, and it's actually got one vine right there, another vine there, and a third one. So this is actually pruned to 3 main vines coming up here, and I'll do a couple videos on pruning, and if you want to do a single stem, a double stem, or a triple stem. But this is just a way to kind of manage the size, because it is a semi-determinate. It gets bigger than your determinate variety, so you do have to prune it a little bit. So this is another container. This is my Subarctic Max, and that was just put in the ground yesterday. Today is June 7th. It's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. And again, I like starting them at different times, because you never know what's going to happen with Mother Nature. So have a supply of tomatoes going, and you can always give away your extra tomatoes if you don't need them all. This is my warm weather seed starts, cucumbers, zucchini, squash, beans, all kinds of stuff that will get out into the garden really over the next week. Here's my cherry tomato garden. So I have 5 cherry tomatoes in there. And I do have a video on it, and I don't want to keep saying everything's 4 weeks old, because it's not. So that probably went in May, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks old. But they're doing really, really well. And I'm doing pruning videos on these to show you how to prune them and how to manage them. They just got sprayed with the sprays that I use. I'll talk about that in other videos. But I have just your standard large red cherry right there. This is a Bumble Bee. It's a bicolor striped cherry tomato, a little bit bigger than a cherry size. Really, really delicious. Back there, standard small cherry. And they're just growing extremely well. And the cherries tend to grow quicker. This is a black plum right in there. And this is one of my favorites, if you have a chance to grow it, the black cherry. It's a delicious tomato, heirloom, and has beautiful color. So right in this group, I have 5 cherry tomatoes. All right, let's go to the other side. So here are 2 tomatoes that are really distressed. They were just in my tomato tips video, and I actually bought them from Lowe's or Home Depot to show you how to buy healthy transplants. So I got some sick ones to show you what not to buy. So hopefully these will come back to life. I'm trying to take care of them with organic fertilizer and a chemical fertilizer as an experiment, and hopefully they'll be in tomato tips too. Tucked right in there is my Roma tomato, and Roma tomatoes and the Roma type varieties are notorious for getting blossom end rot, and that's when the bottoms brown out. And that can be due to a lack of calcium, due to watering issues, or a combination of both. But whenever you plant Roma types, I really recommend putting in some extra calcium, either in a way of gypsum or in a way of lime. Here are more container tomatoes, and these are actually growing in flower boxes. This is another tiny Tim. It's a good size, and you can see all the holes in it. Because it's right here on the ground, the snails are getting to it, but I'm managing them well enough that the plant's going to be okay. But these aren't like the compact ones I showed you earlier that are going into those 2.5 gallon sizes. Those tomatoes will get over 2 feet, maybe 3 feet, something like that. These stay under 18 inches, so you can even get smaller containers. I actually sell the tiny Tim on my seed shop, but they're doing really well. They're going to start producing soon. This is a Micro Tom, very similar. And up here is 2 more Micro Toms. The one on the left planted at the same time as this one, except I broke it now 3 times, but it keeps fighting and coming back. And that Micro Tom's not quite as big, but they're all flowering, so I'll have tomatoes from these soon. And these little dwarf type tomatoes, the ones that grow 18 inches, are a great way to get quick tomatoes to your table while you're waiting for the other ones to mature. So these are the tomatoes that I put out the earliest. That is a big dwarf, and it's a little bit beat up. I'm not sure why they're yellowing. They've been all fed and taken care of the same way as my other tomatoes, but it looks like it's coming back and it's doing okay. These actually went out in April. They went out really, really early And you can see that there's fruit on them. This variety, I don't know what it is. It looks so strong, but I didn't put the name on there, so I figured I would give it a chance. And it looks like it might be another Siberian, maybe glacier variety. But these are Determinate tomatoes. That's my Siberian. And you can see the tomatoes forming. And these went out in April, actually got hit with the frost and came back and survived. As long as the frost doesn't come and mess up the stem, you can let your plant go, and this all recovered. I mean, it lost a lot of its leaves. But now they're starting to yellow out, and I'm not sure, but I'm not going to panic. These are Determinate varieties. Determinate varieties tend to set all their flowers over a short period of time, followed by the fruit, and then the plant dies out. So Determinate varieties you can actually sometimes grow 2 or 3 times in your zone. You get them started, let's say in Maryland Zone 7 in April, grow them till they start dying out, put them again in the ground late June. When they come to die out, you can sometimes get them back in August, and if your weather's mild enough, you can get a 3rd season. But I could definitely get 2 rounds of Determinate varieties. Why you might do that? Because you can miss the disease times when diseases come into your area. And you start new plants when the diseases leave, and this way come September you have tomatoes. Again, today's June 7th. Here are more tomatoes if you're not sick of the tour by now. This is your standard red beefsteak. A lot of tomato hybrids and now heirlooms, because it's been over 40-50 years for some of them, really came from crossing with the beefsteak, your standard big beef tomato. These were seed started on March 18th, and they found their way into the garden a couple weeks ago. This is my Brandywine Yellow, and you can see the shape of the leaf. Looks like more like a potato. They call that a potato leaf variety, which is different than your standard tomato leaf. And in the back there is my Abraham Lincoln tomato. On this side, I have a couple of tomatoes from Cicada Seeds that I'm trialing. This is a Sweet Gold grape tomato, a Sun Sugar grape tomato. Over here is a Pink Girl, a slicer tomato, and then the other one is a Think Pink slicer tomato. So these are all doing really, really well. And these were actually mailed to me as transplants, which is pretty cool. Oh, I forgot, I just put these in yesterday. Down here I have the Pink Oxheart, Jubilee, Todd County Amish, and my Sioux, and these were transplants from the ones that you just saw up on my deck that I just put out yesterday. All right, I still have more. Let's get to those. And what I'm showing you now are mostly indeterminate tomatoes, which means they're going to keep growing and growing until cold weather comes or disease takes them. So you definitely want to put in 6-foot stakes. Put them in a good 4 to 6 inches away from the stem so that you don't shear off any roots. If you can put the stakes in early when they're smaller, that's great. If you wait till they get a little bit bigger, again, give them a good probably 6 inches away from the stem when you sink the stake. Over here are a couple more smaller cherry types, again from the final wave of tomatoes that I have up there. That's a yellow pear right in the front. These went in yesterday. This is Reisentraub, which is a great cherry tomato. It's from Germany, and the Principe Borghese in the back, which is one of the best dried tomatoes that you can have. It just has a wonderful flavor. If you put them in the oven, you just let them dry down at about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Concentrates the flavor, and they're great in olive oil. Old German, another 1-pound tomato. This is another Aussie because it's one of my favorite heirlooms. And again, another black cherry back there because it's one of the most delicious tomatoes. Doing an experiment over here with another heat-tolerant tomato, the Floridade, which you saw in the ground, but that's also in a 5-gallon container. And I like to try out different species or different varieties in different growing mediums, containers, potting mixes, all kinds of stuff, just to see what combination really works for my garden. Coming across this way, we are coming down to the last couple. Of course, we're not over at my community garden where I have more, but this is my backyard, or the rusted garden. Homestead, one of the best baseball-sized red tomatoes, heat tolerant, that you can get. I grow it every year. And that was seed started on March 18th. This is the Arkansas Traveler, another good baseball-sized tomato. And then finally, some of the stuff I've been working on in the garden, cleaning it up. I'm going to have a barbecue this weekend and have people over. This is a Rutgers Select, and in the back is the Midnight Snack, the All-America Selection winner that I talked about a little bit ago, and that is the cherry type that has the high concentration of anthocyanin in there, which will really get that nice purple color. And this is a test ground. I'm actually growing these in worm castings and using worm tea, and that's all they're going to get. So I'm going to see how they do just with that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my seed and garden shop at www.therustedgarden.com, and next I will give you a tour of all the different peppers I'm growing. Thanks for watching.